Hi, I'm EveloGM, and today we're taking a look at another member of Vox Machina and creating them as a Pathfinder 2nd Edition remaster character. Vex! Not Vax. Did Vax a while ago. We're nearly done with the initial characters now anyway, only Pike is left after this, which is very exciting. It's only taken over a year. We will be taking a look at level 1 today, and then leveling up Vex to level 9 next time. As always, potential spoilers for the show or the game ahead. Unlikely, but you never know. Vex's story we have mostly heard so far, so we're just going to kind of skip over some little bits and pieces and just go over it more in general, because we covered it all with Vax already. But Vex, short for Vexalia, half-elven ranger, twin brother of Vax'Uldan, born to a human mother, elven father, spent younger lives living with their mother, and then they were taken to live with their father in Sinkhorn at 10. Elves didn't go and take too kindly to them, and father wasn't the best, so they left and went back to live with their mother. Unfortunately, however, there was a dragon attack on the town where she lived, and she was gone. After this, they spent a great deal of time alone, with no one but each other, and during this time, Vex honed her talents as a ranger, and also studied as much as she could about dragons, so that she could find out how to kill them, in case she got the chance to fight the one that killed her mum. Sometime during after this, whilst captured by poachers, Vex is also able to escape them and puts a wounded bear out of its suffering, only to discover that it has a cub, who she would take in herself and call Trinket. And then they'd wind up meeting the rest of Vox Machina and all that stuff, which we'll cover when we do the level 9 one. Vex is played by voice actress Laura Bailey, who has so many roles. Her early career included a number of characters in DBZ, Keiko in Yu Yu Hakusho, and Toru in Fruits Basket, both in the original and the 2019 reboot. She's voiced characters from Naruto, Bleach, and Code Geass. She's the voice of Connis in One Piece, Lust in Fullmetal Alchemist and Brotherhood, Maka Alban in Soul Eater franchise. She's voiced Black Widow across multiple games and TV shows, along with other heroes such as Wonder Woman and Cheetah, and has been in truly so many video games: Blood Rain 1, Blood Rain 2, Valkyria Chronicles, Persona 4, Chun-Li in Street Fighter 4, Fallout New Vegas, Kira in Star Wars The Old Republic, Halo 4, Mass Effect 3, Fire Emblem, Gears of War, Saints Row, The Last of Us, Uncharted, Marvel Spider-Man as MJ, Nier, and recently Harper in Date Everything and Invisigal in Dispatch. Lots of credits and lots of great games. Anyway, back to Vex. We will blast through race anxiously as we have done this before for 5e with Vax, and also human multiple times because Keyleth and Percy also were humans for Pathfinder. Ability score increase, you get 2 to your charisma and 1 to another score of your choice, which is a bit more than the other classes get. Your age, half-elves age are much the same age as human, reaching adulthood at about 20, but they live longer than humans to about 180 or so. Size, you're medium, usually 5 to 6 feet tall, and speed is 30 feet. You have got dark vision, which is superior to standard vision in low light and dim conditions. 60 feet is of bright light, and in darkness of dim light you can't discern colours. Fey ancestry, advantage on saves against being charmed, and magic can't put you to sleep. Languages you can speak, read and write Common, Elven, and 1 additional language. As with Vex, this will be Abyssal, as that is what they were taught. Half-elven versatility as well, gives you skill versatility. It's just the general one. You gain proficiency with 2 skills of your choice, which we'll come to down the line because we don't know exactly what Vex is going to have picked at any point, really. And there we go. Now, again, half-elves, obviously not just a D&D creation, they exist in general, which means that we can also make them in Pathfinder. That is an Ivaran, and that is a heritage, so that any race can be a Ivaran half-elf, you know, in essence, which means we are starting with human because they are half human and half elf, which means we have 8 hit points because you get hit points in Pathfinder from your ancestry, medium size, and 25 feet speed, which is the standard for Pathfinder. You get 2 free ability boosts. You get the language of Common and 1 additional language, and then more languages equal to any positive intelligence modifier you have. In 5e, Common and Elvish and Abyssal are taken. We can do the same thing here with Chthonian instead of Abyssal, and then also Common and Elvish. Now, to make a half-elf, we then have to choose the Ivaran heritage. You have elves, or possibly other Ivarans in your family tree, and you have pointed ears and other telltale signs of elven heritage. You gain the elf trait, the Ivaran trait, and low light vision. In addition, when you gain an ancestry feat, you can choose from Ivaran and elf feats in addition to those from your ancestry. So this gives us more options. Low light vision as well. For our ancestry feat, we are going to take Nimble Elf, which ups Vex's speed by 5 feet to 30, making her a little faster than most of her counterparts, which is useful as a ranger because you need to keep a distance in combat, especially in Pathfinder, and you'll see why in a little bit. So, So far, 5e, we got +2 to charisma, +1 to another attribute, opposed to just +2 and +2 in Pathfinder. 30 feet is against 30 feet for once. We have our Fey ancestry, which we have nothing against in Pathfinder, dark vision and low light vision, and then skill versatility, we've gone with it being deception and persuasion, and we have our ancestry feat versatility in Pathfinder, giving us a lot more options for those going forward because we do choose more ancestry feats at high levels. We get 8 hit points in Pathfinder, we don't get any of course from 5e, and we have our 3 languages in both Common, Elvish and Abyssal/Chthonian. So there we are, a solid start for both versions of Vex. Next up we have backgrounds. Vex in 5e is listed as a runaway, but it seems to be treated as an outlander from what I can see. This gives you proficiency in athletics and survival, one type of musical instrument, though I don't think she has ever written one of those down, and a language of your choice, and this one is of course Undercommon, and as previous they've not used the additional abilities and backgrounds granted, something to do with the crossover from Pathfinder I expect, so that's not here. In Pathfinder we have the Hunter, which fits what Vex was doing quite well out in the wilds during this time, and if you're hunting around for the subscribe button, it's hiding just below the video. You can get it, it's not that quick. You stalked and took down animals and other creatures of the wild. Skinning animals, harvesting their flesh and cooking it were also part of your training, all of which can give you useful resources while on an adventure. You choose to attribute boosts, one must be to Dex or Wisdom, the other is free. You get trained in Survival and Tanning Law and the Survey Wildlife Skill Feat, which does the following. You can spend 10 minutes studying details of the wilderness to determine the presence of nearby creatures, and assessing the area around you to find out what creatures are nearby based on nests, scout and marks on vegetation. You attempt a survival check against a DC determined by the GM based on how obvious the signs are, and on a success you can attempt a recall knowledge check with a -2 penalty to learn more about the creature just from these signs. If you master in survival, you don't take the penalty. It's useful for a fledgling ranger. So for backgrounds, we've got Stealth and Athletics versus Thievery and Tanning Law. We got the Wanderer background trait that's not used in 5e versus Survey Wildlife Free Feat. We got +2 to Dex or Wisdom and +2 to something else, which is again just increasing the number by 1, but as if it were a +2 modifier from 5e. And then we get Draconic and an instrument. We don't think she ever used the instrument, but Draconic is pretty important for Vex, and we don't have another language here, so we're gonna have to rectify that at some point. Alright, now onto the main event, the Ranger. Not great in 5e at level 1 when the first 5e first came out, but let's blast through it anyway. Hit points, D10 per level. You know how those things increase. Light armor, medium armor, and shield proficiency, simple weapons, martial weapons. No tools, saving throws, dexterity, and strength. Skills you choose 3 from animal handling, athletics, insight, investigation, nature, perception, stealth, and survival. So here we take survival, insight, and perception, which brings Vex up to having 7 skills at this point, which is quite a lot. She does have acrobatics on her sheet. I'm not quite sure how or where she got that, but again, maybe something later or something they did as an additional skill. They also get Favourite Enemy. Beginning at first level, you have a significant experience studying, tracking, hunting, and even talking to a certain type of enemy. You choose a type of Favourite Enemy: aberrations, beasts, celestials, constructs, dragons, elementals, fae, fiends, giants, monstrosities, oozes, plants, or undead, or 2 races of humanoid. You have an advantage on wisdom, survival checks to track them, as well as intelligence checks to acquire information about them. And when you gain this feature, you also learn 1 language of your choice that is spoken by your favourite enemies if they speak one. You also get Natural Explorer. First level, you're particularly familiar with 1 type of natural environment. You are adept at travelling and surviving in such regions. You choose 1 type of favourite terrain from a bunch, and of course you chose forest. We have forest and dragons for favourite terrain and for favourite foe. Whilst travelling for 1 or more hour in your favourite terrain, you get the following benefits. Difficult terrain doesn't slow your group's travel. Your group can't become lost except by magical means. Even when you are engaged in another activity while travelling, such as foraging, navigating, or tracking, you remain alert to danger. If you're travelling alone, you can move stealthily at a normal pace. When you forage, you can find twice as much food as you normally would. And while tracking other creatures, you also learn the exact number, sizes, and how long they're going to pass through the area. So there we are. So no Trinket as a combatant just yet. Lots of classic rangery stuff. Helpful for exploration for sure, and against particular creatures, but certainly a little niche at certain times. Okay, in Pathfinder, we'll have a look at now. Your key ability can be dexterity, but it can also be strength. You also get 10 hit points as per standard, but remember you always choose the maximum you roll for hit points in Pathfinder. Your perception rolls are at expert. Your fortitude saves are at expert, your reflex saves are at expert, your will saves are at trained. Skills, you're trained in nature and trained in survival off the bat, and trained in a number of skills equal to 4 plus your intelligence modifier. It's not quite as many as Vax, but it is a solid number, especially as you trained in nature and survival from the start as well. For attacks, you're trained in simple and martial weapons, and unarmed attacks and defences, you are trained in light and medium armour and unarmoured defence, and remember everyone in Pathfinder can use shields if they so wish. You're also of course trained in your class DC. You also get a Hunter's Edge, which is kind of like a miniature subclass, a class feat, and the Hunt Prey action. Hunt Prey costs 1 action and has the Concentrate trait, and it does the following. You designate a single creature as your prey and focus your attacks against the creature. You must be able to see or hear the prey, or you must be tracking the prey during exploration. That's outside of combat essentially. You gain a +2 circumstance bonus to perception checks to seek your prey, and a +2 circumstance bonus to survival checks when you track them. You also ignore the penalty for making ranged attacks within your second range increment against the prey you're hunting. It's very cool. You can also only have 1 designated creature as your prey at a time. If you use it against another creature, it will lose it on the previous creature, as you may expect. And the designation lasts until you make your next daily preparations. Cool. Mechanically aids you both with tracking and fighting your chosen prey, and it can be anything as long as it's a target. And then for our Hunter's Edge, we've chosen for Vex Precision. You've trained to aim for your prey's weak points. The first time you hit your hunted prey in a round, you also deal an additional 1d8 precision damage. Precision damage increases the damage you have already dealt using the same type. It is, however, ineffective against certain creatures that lack like vital organs, so slimes and things. At 11th level, the damage increases to 2d8, and at 19th level to 3d8 precision damage. Kinda like Hunter's Mark, but for free once per turn. It's nice. Obviously, your rangers don't get that if they haven't chosen precision, but the alternatives are pretty powerful too in their own way. And finally, our chosen feat is Animal Companion. You gain the service of a young animal companion that travels with you and obeys simple commands. When you hunt prey, your animal companion gains the action's benefits and your Hunter's Edge benefit if you have one as well. Trinket, but a little earlier and a little more powerful, so a second stat block to look at as well. Trinket is an AC of 18 and 16 hit points. That's an AC that's as good as Vex's starting one will be, and nearly as many hit points. Speed of 25 feet and size currently small. Senses, they do have low light vision as well, and imprecise scent of 30 feet, which is great for detecting things in the dark. They have a jaw attack, which is +6 to hit for 1d8 +3 piercing damage, or a claw attack, which is +6 for 1d6 +3 slashing damage, but with the agile trait, meaning a second hit attack would be more likely to hit. They also train athletics at +6, acrobatics at +5, and intimidation at +3. They also have a support benefit. Your bear mauls an enemy when you create an opening. Until the start of your next turn, each time you hit a creature within your bear's reach with a strike, the creature takes 1d8 slashing damage from the bear. And then if your bear is nimble or savage, the damage increases, which they're not yet, but maybe in the future. They also have +5 fortitude and reflex saves, +4 will saves, and +4 perception. And we did give them heavy barding to increase their AC, because whenever we see Trinket, they are always in armour. You can spend an action of yours to give 2 to your companion, so it kind of gives you 4 actions in a way. It's very cool. Your companion also levels up along with you, so they shouldn't be falling behind in power and going down in the first round of combat as much. Okay, last things to do are attributes. Vex has taken the observant feat, so we can assume that she's only done 1 ASI, which is probably to get the dex up to 20, meaning at level 1 she'd have had strength of 7, dex of 18, con of 10, intelligence of 14, wisdom 14, charisma 17. Pathfinder does attributes a little differently, so let's have a look at how that looks. In Pathfinder, opposed to -2, our strength would likely be 0 unless we forced it to be -2, because that's not really how the numbers work when you don't roll them. +4 to dex in both, +0 to con in both. We only have +1 in intelligence, which is losing as languages unfortunately, compared to +2 from 5e. We've got +2 for both of wisdom though, and then we've only got +2 for charisma opposed to the +3 that we have in 5e. So we're slightly behind in intelligence and charisma, but otherwise the same. 0 is pretty much the lowest we can go, possibly -1, so we could force Vex to have a -2 if people really want, but otherwise for now we'll leave it at 0. With those fixed, we can now calculate hit points, AC, skills, and so on, so we'll take a look at those next. Keeping armour as standard studded leather, we have an AC of 16 in 5e and 18 in Pathfinder, hit points of 10 in 5e and 18 in Pathfinder. +4 to initiative versus +7 if we were using perception, or +5 if we were using stealth, and +4 perception, which is +6 perception, as +7 perception, as we've just said. We have favoured enemy in 5e, and we have got hunt prey action in Pathfinder, which occupy not the same niche but kind of similar. And we do have natural explorer in 5e, and while surveyor wildlife holds some of the same elements, it is a bit different, so there's not really any direct comparison. Likewise, precision is our hunter's edge. There's no comparison to this in 5e just yet. Obviously hunter's mark kind of similar, but that's not around just yet anyway. The proficiency saves that Vex is proficient in 5e are Dex at a +6 and Strength at a +0, whereas in 5e we have Fortitude at +5, which is Expert, but just quite low, Reflex at +9, also Expert, and Will at +5, Trained. We have 8 skills. Again, I'm not quite sure where Acrobatics has come from, but you know it's fine. Highest is at +6, which is for Acrobatics and for Stealth, assuming she got Acrobatics from somewhere. We have 9 skills, highest at +6 being Acrobatics and Stealth in Pathfinder. Both have simple and martial weapons, light, medium armor, and shields, but then we also have our animal companion in Pathfinder. They line up pretty well at the moment, honestly, certainly more so than some of the other party members we've covered thus far. Let's have a quick look at a damage output with the basic longbow as well. We have 1d8 plus our dex of 4 in 5th edition, two-handed weapon plus 6 to hit, on average 9 damage. Now you don't add your dex modifier to bows in Pathfinder because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense really, so it's just a flat d8 piercing. However, on our first attack in a round, it is plus an additional d8 from the precision, remember, which is going to be factored in most of the time when you're hunting a prey. Two-handed again, +7 to hit, and it does have the volley and deadly d10 traits. One hit is going to be dealing, thusly, about 9 damage. If we're considering that there's a chance that a second shot were to hit because you can attack multiple times from level 1, maybe up to like 11 damage on average. However, the deadly d10 trait means if you get a critical hit, your damage die changes from d8s to d10s, which is going to greatly increase the damage in Pathfinder, of course, along with precision from 10 damage to like 17, and then if Trinket is helping out too, that's another 5 damage on average on top of that. You've got to be further away though. The volley trait of 30 feet means that if you're within 30 feet, you do have a penalty of -2, I believe, to your attack rolls, because it's a longbow, you're too close. Something that is not affected or included in 5e for, you know, simplicity's sake. And there you have it. As with Vax, there are some very significant similarities between these two versions of the class, but we'll have to see if that stays the same as we level them up. Both still have similar saves and training and are good at targeting specific targets and doing various survival and nature kind of things. The mechanics for doing so are just quite different. And hey, we get Trinket early in Pathfinder, and they should be able to keep pace with Vex's leveling up a little bit better than in 5e or early 5e anyway. So that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Anything you do different, please let me know down in the comments below and I'll be sure to have a look. Otherwise, we'll be back with leveling up Vex to level 9 in about a month. But stay tuned, I'll have videos out every week, pretty much every Thursday, and occasionally on Sundays up until then. So do please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.